Now, what about the Mediterranean food plan? This is a way of eating that is nutritionally dense, that there's enough literature on it, and there's enough studies showing significant improvements in health. And this is what I love about it. It showed a reduction in hepatic fat and improved insulin sensitivity in the liver, and it occurred without weight loss. They stayed the same weight. If they stayed the same weight and switched to the Mediterranean food plan, their fat started melting away the liver. So now you do that with weight loss, and it's like a double. So you focus on plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Choose healthy fats. Include fatty fish. Limit the red and processed cuts of meat. Have them in moderation. Avoid the sugars. Use herbs and spices. They enjoy a moderate amount of wine, but in our case, we're going to avoid it. The risk actually outweighs the benefit. There is some study. It's one of those things where people were just looking for an excuse to drink and think that it was healthy for them. I'd say just stick to the phytonutrients. If they really want the red wine effect, have some grapes. You get some great phytonutrient effects with that. But anyway, if they had a small amount of in moderation, some people, red wine, it might have been beneficial, but like I said, it's a can of worms you're opening, especially with the alcohol component that can poison the liver. Remember to stay within the calorie needs and to achieve that healthy weight, that healthy body composition. Mediterranean food interventions showed significant improvements in liver enzymes independent of weight loss. Hypocaloric diets with high unsaturated fatty acid foods also showed a reduction in liver enzymes and intrahepatic lipid levels. Mediterranean interventions did not significantly affect fasting glucose, insulin, HOMA-IR in studies in people with MASLD. The Mediterranean food plan has been associated with a reduction of the risk of cardiometabolic diseases. When a Mediterranean food plan calls for cereals, remember this, it refers to whole grain cereals like oatmeal, barley, and whole wheat, quinoa, and brown rice. It is not talking about Fruit Loops. The cereals are minimally processed and they retain their natural fiber and nutrient density. They are a healthier choice than the nasty, sugary, highly processed things that unfortunately many people are giving their kids nowadays because it's convenient. Let's take a look at the SMILES trial. This is a trial to make you smile. And you remember it, SMILES trial. It's a Mediterranean food plan. There were 67 people that were enrolled, 33 control, and 33 in the intervention group, 34 in the control group. And what they looked at is every one of them had 7 60-minute sessions of dietary counseling. The other group had a matching social support protocol. So they were still getting it, but it wasn't about food. The treatment group was encouraged to consume a modified Mediterranean food plan. The other group was just told to eat healthy. And what they found is a significant improvement in mood. And that's why, remember, SMILES trial, it actually showed that it improved people, the group that were getting the intervention, the dietary counseling and the Mediterranean food plan. It showed that they actually had a significant improvement in their mood, and it took people from depression out of depression. So it's pretty cool. The Mediterranean diet and health status, take a look at this trial. So over 4 million people, an overall meta-analysis. It created a point system, maximum of 18 points, and there was a 2-point increase in each one of these points, gave a 8 reduction in overall mortality, a 10% reduction in cardiovascular disease, a 4% reduction in neoplastic diseases. So when you put it all together, by following the plan, overall, there was a 72% reduction in overall mortality in the Mediterranean food plan, 90% reduction in cardiovascular risk, 36% reduction in neoplastic and cancerous stuff. If this was a pill, you better believe everybody would be on it. So modified Mediterranean food plan, the conventional medicine docs are finally saying, okay, maybe a modified Mediterranean food plan, just like recently. This isn't like a last year thing. They're still, they've been skeptical for some time. They know it's good, but they're skeptical. American Heart Association, AHA, they're all worried to recommend it. Now they're finally starting to recommend it. And then let's take a look at micronutrients. So nutrient deficiencies, why would people, these are like your vitamins and stuff. Why would people have nutrient deficiencies? They're not eating the right kind of foods. The quality of the food could be poor. Topsoil, like skimping. Chronic diseases can cause certain deficiencies. Chronic medicines can lower or can cause deficiencies. So for example, you give somebody metformin, and metformin may be good and may help somebody with diabetes, but it could lower their B12 levels, which could cause a problem in the future. So you want to be aware of those things. Micronutrient deficiencies that were associated with MASLT. Zinc deficiency can be involved with oxidative stress. Copper, it's a cofactor for antioxidants, but remember, if the copper to zinc is too high, that also can increase oxidative stress and may cause dementia. Vitamin A deficiency is negatively associated with intrahepatic triglyceride content and transaminase levels. Vitamin B, B3, and B12 also can be associated. Vitamin D deficiency has been shown to make NASH worse, which is now called MASH, the worst type of fatty liver disease. And vitamin E has protective effects on lipid peroxidation and has antifibrotic effects. It's not the regular E that you get at the store. It's a specific mixed tocopherols, 8 tocopherols and 8 tocotrienols that has been found to help. As a matter of fact, the synthetic D-alpha tocopherol probably is going to hurt. It actually increases different types of morbidity and mortality. So here are key nutrients that are needed for insulin sensitivity. You need enough vitamin D, magnesium, chromium, zinc, and inositol. And for many reasons, people don't have those. What nutrients do you test in your practice? The best way to personalize dietary recommendations and reduce excess supplementation is going to be testing. And you can use some of the advanced comprehensive nutrient panels. But the common things that you can get just in a regular lab is you can get a 25-OH vitamin D. You can get an iron panel of ferritin. You can get a B12. And if you're confused, you can get an MMA. You can get a homocysteine level. You can get a RBC folate. You can get a RBC magnesium. You can get a zinc and copper and look at their ratio and make sure their ratio is good. And those are things you can get just from a regular. You could also, that high homocysteine can tell you to get your methyl or your B vitamins in. Here are my gap fillers, multivitamin and multimineral, omega-3s, vitamin D, and I add vitamin K to it. And if they're over 40, I do miniquinone 7. I do 180 milligrams of miniquinone 7. Probiotics. So a lot of my patients are taking probiotics as a gap filler and a higher nitrite food plan to help with nitric oxide, but dietary from vegetables or supplementation, not from the lunch meats, because lunch meats, they call it a high nitrate as well, but that is nitrates cooked at high temperatures, creating nitrosamine, which can be carcinogenic. Nitrate containing fruits and vegetables may decrease the odds of getting fatty liver disease. And this is getting it from, like I said, one of the problem with the research on nitric oxide or nitrates here is that they will a lot of times lump them all together. So they'll say that if you get lunch meats, it's the same as you getting it from things like spinach. And that is definitely not true. If nitric oxide is needed for vasodilation, antithrombotic effects, platelet disaggregation, growth inhibition, and anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. And what happens is that angiotensin 2 does the opposite of that. And you need nitric oxide to balance angiotensin 2. And remember, angiotensin 2 inhibitors are medication we use for blood pressure and for heart disease and whatnot. Take a look at the nitrite reduction pathway. What ends up happening is your body is going to take L-arginine, or your enzyme, enos, in the blood vessel wall, and it's going to turn the L-arginine into L-citrulline, and it's going to release nitric oxide. If you start giving people L-arginine, and that enos, that enzyme, is in an oxidized state, you can actually create peroxynitrite, and you can really, superoxide, peroxynitrite, you can really hurt people. That's why we don't give people supplementation of L-arginine. Now, there is the other pathway where inorganic nitrate, found in a lot of foods that are on the DASH2 diet, which is the diet that conventional medicine doctors recommend for hypertension, I recommend it all the time. I think it's a great food plan, especially with high blood pressure. It's higher in magnesium and potassium, but also higher in nitrates. So inorganic nitrates are going to mix with the food or mix with the bacteria deep in the crypts of our tongue. They're nitrite-producing bacteria and create nitrite, and the nitrite can also create nitric oxide. And the nitric oxide turns back into nitrite and go back to nitric oxide again. So the oral microbiome is what does that. And that's why if you have that white coat, or your patient has the white coat on their tongue, then that could be an indication that they have a lot of ammonia producing bacteria and they don't have enough nitrite producing bacteria. And that's where tongue scraping can come in. Have them tongue scrape with the brushing their teeth every day. And also be careful of mouthwashes that are antibacterial mouthwashes, because they could kill off all that bacteria, lower the nitric oxide levels, not only cause fatty liver disease, but cause high blood pressure and decrease blood flow to the body. Here are some vegetable sources of dietary nitrates. And we encourage these things along with the tongue scraping. And look at the bottom: celery, lettuce, red beetroot. Those kind of things are higher in nitrate, and they can be very helpful in cardiometabolic disease. And it is time, your favorite time, my favorite time. It is quiz time. Are you ready? Which macronutrient replacement reduces liver fat content? Which macronutrient reduces liver fat content? Eat more of this and you may get a reduction in liver fat. Replacing carbohydrates with proteins, replacing saturated fats with unsaturated fats. What conditions are associated with consuming ultra-processed foods? Obesity, cardiovascular disease, cerebrovascular disease, depression, anxiety, cancer, non-alcoholic fatty liver, and all-cause mortality. How many phytonutrients have been identified? Have we counted them? More than 10,000. What are the 7 main phytonutrient families? Phenolic acid, flavonoids, the anthocyanins, tannins, organosulfur compounds, carotenoids, and alkaloids. What liver improvements are associated with the Mediterranean food plan in patients with MASLD? The Mediterranean food plan is shown to reduce hepatic fat, improve insulin sensitivity in the liver. True or false? Results from the Mediterranean food plan were dependent on weight loss. The answer is false. You didn't even have to lose weight to have a reduction in fatty liver. What are some of the reasons for nutrient deficiencies? Why do we have them in the population, especially when a lot of people are overeating, not eating the right foods, poor food quality, the farmers aren't using the right topsoil or not replenishing it properly? So if your soil doesn't have it, then your vegetables are going to have it. Chronic disease, chronic medication. What micronutrient deficiencies are associated with MASLD? Zinc, copper, vitamin A, vitamin B, D, so B3 and B12, D, and E. What are my gap fillers? Multivitamin, multimineral, omega-3, vitamin D, plus a vitamin K. I put it in together. Probiotics, plus or minus a nitrate supplement.
If you're a licensed healthcare practitioner ready to evolve your functional medicine practice, explore over 300 hours of clinical training, masterclasses with leading functional medicine clinicians, and certification pathways. Or check out the Academy of Functional Nutrition and Lifestyle Medicine at afnlm.com. Whether you're on the path to certification as a functional nutritionist or simply want to optimize your own and your family's health, our skill-building approach builds real-world competence from the ground up. And lastly, if you're dealing with chronic health challenges, visit drknews.com for self-paced courses that help you understand and address fatigue, brain fog, autoimmune conditions, gut problems, and more using evidence-based approaches. The content on this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Always consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and share with someone who might benefit.